Well, everyone, welcome to the church in Ocean Park. And you never know what the conversation is going to be during fellowship time and fellowship and sistership. We got to work on that wording. But glad to see everybody. I'm coming to you from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where it is 100 degrees
Wow.
and humid. But it is good to see everybody. And I've been so excited this week. Peopleship. Yep, that's good. Time for peopleship. I've been so excited because, of course, this week they issued the Pete Seeger stamp. Yes, the Pete Seeger Forever stamp. And they did it at the Newport Folk Festival. I mean, how cool is that? So I was thinking about it and talking with Louise, and I think we've got some Pete Seeger songs that we're going to be doing. And there's a special video that we'll show you toward the middle of the service. So good to see you. We're going to get started singing now. You'll see in the chat there are some lyrics for a Pete Seeger song, one of my favorite ones. I actually recorded it on a CD called Guide My Feet, and the song is Old Devil Time. So we'll all be on mute and please help out with the singing. Old devil time, I'm gonna fool you now. Old devil time, you'd like to bring me down. But when I'm feeling low, my lovers gather round and help me rise to fight you one more time. Old devil pain, you've often pinned me down. You thought I'd cry and beg you for the end, but at that very time, my lovers gather round and help me rise to fight you one more time. Old devil, fear you with your icy hands. Old devil, fear you'd like to freeze me cold. But when I'm sore afraid, my lovers gather round and help me rise to fight you one more time. Old devil hate, I knew you long ago till I found out the poison in your breath. Now when I hear your lies, my lovers gather round and help me rise to fight you one more time. No storm or fire can ever beat us down. No wind that blows but carries us further on. And you who fear, oh lovers, gather round, and we will rise to sing it one more time. No storm or fire can ever beat us down. No wind that blows but carries us further on. And you who fear, oh lovers, gather round, and we will rise to sing it one more time. I love that last verse. Pete Pete Seeger wrote this song for a movie. He was asked to write a theme song. He was sitting on an airplane, and this is one of those. He wrote it on a napkin. But I love this song, and I love especially this last verse, because after singing about hate and fear and pain, he gives us something so hopeful. So let's sing this hopeful verse 2 more times. No storm nor fire can ever beat us down. No wind that blows but carries us further on. And you who fear, oh, lovers, gather round, and we can rise to sing it one more time. Let's do that again. No storm or fire can ever beat us down. No wind that blows but carries us further on. And you who fear, oh, lovers, gather round, and we can rise to sing it one more time. And you who fear, and you who fear, lovers, gather round. Oh, lovers, gather round, and we can rise to sing it one more time. Yes, Pete Seeger song. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the church in Ocean Park. And Chaplain Joseph, I think you're next this week.
Yes, my name is Joseph Hepburn, and I'm a member of the church in Ocean Park. We are members here. We are here to welcome you to this unique interfaith community. We are dedicated to social justice. You may be wondering, of course, if you are welcome here. We are interfaith. One person told me he was a religious atheist and looking for a pastor to share with. I said, you are welcome. If you're Jewish, if you're Muslim, if you're Hindu, Buddhist, Christian, atheist, or some combination, or something else altogether. You are welcome if you just came in from a protest march, or you weren't able to attend any of them at all. You are welcome if you missed Pride Month activities, if you are participating in some online activity. You are welcome if you don't have a job, never had a job, or don't want a job. You are welcome. You are welcome if you are a renter, landlord, or both. We extend a special invitation to those who are single, married, divorced, gay, transgender, filthy rich, or dirty poor. We extend a special invitation to those who are just browsing, just woke up, or even just got out of jail. We don't care if you're more religious than the Pope or haven't been in church since your niece's baptism. We extend a special invitation to Gender Z and the millennials and those over 60 and those who are not grown up yet, or to those who grow up too fast. We invite soccer moms, tree huggers, latte sippers, vegetarians, junk food eaters, or you name it, you are welcome here. We invite those who are in recovery or still addicted. We invite you if you're having problems, or you're down in the dumps, or you just don't like organized religion. We offer a special invitation to those who work too hard, those who don't work, cannot work at all. We invite those who are inked, pierced, or both. We offer a special invitation to those who could use a prayer right now, or had religion shoved down their throats when they were children. We invite tourists, seekers and doubters, bleeding hearts, those depressed and those frustrated. Come, you are welcome here. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Thank you, Chaplain Joseph. I'm Reverend Janet McKeithen, and I'm the minister at the church in Ocean Park, and I also welcome you. We strive to be a horizontal institution, so there's no one person who speaks for the church in Ocean Park. So if you hear something that you disagree with, that's by intention, because we are trying to expand our perspectives on the world so that we can have an opportunity to be more effective in helping to create a more beloved community. So you're welcome here, even if you disagree with whoever it is that is speaking. I want to begin by honoring the ancestors of this land, the Quiche, the Chumash, and the Tongva peoples and their descendants, and the indigenous elders, and all of you representing different cultures and peoples. I want to invoke your ancestors and their bravery and resilience. This morning, I want you to imagine them sitting here with us. I invite you to imagine an ancestor whose life makes you brave. Can you think of an ancestor you have or a friend you have whose life makes you brave? There's an icon down at the bottom of the screen that says reactions. If you can think of an ancestor whose life makes you brave or a friend whose life makes you brave, click on the heart reaction button and put up a heart. Imagine those ancestors sitting next to you in this hour. We honor the Quiche and the Chumash and the Tongva and our ancestors who make us brave. Welcome to the church in Ocean Park.
Thank you, Janet. Good morning, everybody. To gather our thoughts and feelings and bring ourselves here, let's do a Thich Nhat Hanh chant. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. And we'll do that 3 times. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. I have arrived. I am home in the here and in the now. So good morning, everybody. I'd like to do a song right now that I haven't done here since we started COVID, I know, but this is a song I love very much. It's got some Christian imagery in it, and maybe in spite of that, because of that, whatever, I love to sing it. It reminds me, I thought of it last week when we talked about a lot of pain and grief and maybe things we've all been through that are difficult. And this song is called He's Taken My Feet from the Mire and the Clay. And I'd love to sing that for you now. Oh, let me put the lyrics there for you. Oh, he's taken my feet from the mire and the clay, and he's placed them on the rock of ages. Oh, he's taken my feet from the mire and the clay, and he's placed them on the rock of ages. I'll praise him while he gives me breath. I hope to praise him after death. Oh, he's and I will tell to sinners round what a dear Savior I have found. Oh, he's taken my feet from the mire and the clay, and he's placed them on the rock of ages. Oh, he's taken my feet from the mire and the clay, and he's placed them on the rock of ages. And I tell you, I look forward to singing. I look forward to singing that with you in person, because the harmony literally takes my feet out of the mire and the clay and lifts me to the rock of ages. So thank you.
Beautiful song, Bruce. After I'm done speaking, there'll be a song, and then there'll be a chance for you to raise your hand if you're interested in making a comment or in asking a question. But we'll be waiting to that time to do that. I want to speak a moment about Buffy St. Marie. How many of you remember Buffy St. Marie? Yes, beautiful. She's still as beautiful and wonderful as ever. She was formative as I grew up, and I love her even more now. She is a songwriter, educator, and a human rights advocate. And in an interview about a month ago, she spoke about the Pope's upcoming visit to Canada, which is where she is, and which is now about to happen. The Pope's about to arrive. As you may know, Indigenous toddlers were taken from their home and shipped off to Christian schools to unlearn their culture, among other things. This didn't only happen in Canada, but in the United States, of course, and other places. The Pope is expected to make an apology for the church's involvement in the residential school system, but Buffy says it won't mean a thing if he doesn't call for the dissolution of the doctrine of discovery. The doctrine of discovery is an international framework based on a series of decrees from the Pope called papal bulls that were released in the 1400s and the 1500s. This framework laid the legal and moral foundation for how Canada and other countries came to be colonized by European settlers. As St. Marie put it, the doctrine of discovery essentially says it's okay if you're a Christian European explorer to go anywhere in the world and either convert people, enslave them, or kill them. This story about Buffy St. Marie lifts me up, not because of what she's talking about, but because it lets me know that something is happening and people are listening. It makes me feel more connected. It lets me know I'm not alone, and that there is an underlying connection with people who are trying to make things right. And that's a good thing. It might just be me, and maybe it's a life stage thing or it's a COVID isolation thing, but in the past year, as things have happened in my life and my family's life, transitions and deaths and illnesses and births, I have felt more connected with the cycle of life and death and changes in stages and in my generational cycle. Instead of knowing my role and my place in my generational line, I now feel it actually in my body. My daughter was unpacking to move her toddler. I guess maybe you know I have a granddaughter named Sophie. My granddaughter Sophie would unpack the boxes just as quickly as Jamie was trying to pack them up. And my mother told me how it was to have 3 children under the age of 5 unpacking boxes as she tried to pack to move. For some reason, I am now present in my body to my position, and I feel a part of the generational cycle of all of that. I don't know if you've had that difference with anything, where you know something logically or intellectually, but at some point it becomes real in your body and in your spirit. Sometimes I'm aware with my whole body and with my spirit as well as my mind. Some of our bodies might be feeling the weight of the current events right now. Your body and spirit and mind might be exhausted from the continually assaults. Far-right supremacist movements are escalating in the United States and around the world, propping up demagogues mainstreaming nativism and racism and ableism and sexism and homophobia and transphobia and tumbling democracy, politicizing the notion of truth, trampling on the marginalized, and strangling the Earth's ecosystem. Should I go on? Are you like me, sick and tired of it? Let's say it loud and clear. If you want to say you're sick and tired of it, unmute for 1 second and say, I'm sick of it. Ready? I'm sick,
Sick of it.
Sick of it.
Tired of it.
I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it.
Shout it out. I'm sick of it.
I'm sick of it.
Sick
I'm sick of it.
Sick
I'm
of
sick
it.
of it.
I'm sick of it.
You're
I'm
so
sick of it.
Mute your back. Thank you so much. We're all sick of it. White supremacists have always been working hard to ensure that the beloved humanity doesn't happen. But the stakes are higher now. We're at a crossroads in a power struggle between those who want to return America to a past where only a certain class of white people hold political, cultural, and economic dominion, and those who want to live in an equitable and beloved community. Valerie Kerr, in her book, See No Stranger, which I highly recommend, writes, some days are so deadly that I can taste the ash in my mouth. Other days I see glimpses of the nation and the world that is waiting to be born. Do you sometimes see glimpses of the world that is waiting to be born? Buffy St. Marie gave me a glimpse into that world this week just by what she said. I felt connection and I felt hope. Valerie Kerr says not only do we need sound government, but we need a shift in our consciousness. That's what I want to share a bit this morning about, a shift in our consciousness. Brain imaging studies tell us that the mind sees the world in terms of us versus them. It's automatic. We're more likely to feel compassion for someone that is like us. In an instant, we see someone like us as one of us. And who we see as one of us determines who we will feel empathy for and who we will more eagerly stand up for in the streets and in the voter's box. Throughout our lives, people around us talk about whole groups of people in derogatory ways or in good ways, because that's what they were taught. So it's handed down to us without our even realizing it. So in addition to our brain automatically categorizing people, now also our lived experience with people we know further separates us. On top of that, when demagogues and authoritarians dehumanize whole groups of people and aren't shut down and do it again and again and again, our minds may begin to see whole groups of people as them, and we feel even less compassion. But there's good news. I know you're waiting for that. It's possible to change how we see people. It's possible to expand the circle of who we see as one of us. If it begins by being curious about another person, even when we think we know them or we know all about them or those kind of people, keeping wonder alive, as Valerie Kerr would name it. We can build even more compassion by being curious about another person. My granddaughter recently discovered bubbles. She's ecstatic. She runs through them squealing. She recently discovered running through the sprinkler in the same way. She squeals with delight. She's so excited. It comes easily when we're kids, amazed at rainbows. I remember being amazed at searchlights. I don't know if any of you went through that, but my dad would put us in the car and we'd go look for the source of the searchlight. My children and I used to lay on our backs and look at the changing shapes in the clouds and see different things in them. If we're safe and nurtured enough to develop our capacity to wonder, we start to wonder about the people in our lives too. Their thoughts and experiences, their pain and joy, their wants and their needs. We see them as complex and interesting like us. We are gaining information about how to love them. It's easy to wonder about the internal life of the people closest to us, but it's harder to wonder about people who seem like strangers or outsiders. But when we choose to wonder about people we don't know, when we imagine their lives and listen for their stories, we begin to expand the circle of those we see as a part of us. We prepare ourselves to love beyond what is required for survival, to what is required to create a new, equitable, beloved community. The call to love beyond our flesh and blood is ancient. Spiritual leaders, indigenous leaders, social reformers all call us to love people we don't know. Buddha called us to practice unending compassion. Abraham called us to open our tent to all. Jesus to love our neighbor. Muhammad calls us to take in the orphan. Mirabai to love without limit. They're all expanding the circle of who counts as one of us, who is worthy of our compassion. They spoke of interconnectedness and interdependence, the ancient Sanskrit truth that we can look upon anyone or anything and say, I am that. The African philosophy, Ubuntu, I am because you are. Or the Mayan precept, you are my other me. We are all part of each other. We share a common ancestry. The air we breathe contains atoms that have passed through ancestors long dead. We can see anyone and say, as a spiritual declaration and a biological fact, you are a part of me. Valerie Kerr says, wonder is where love begins, and the failure to wonder is the beginning of violence. Once we stop wondering about people who are different from us, once we no longer see others as a part of us, then we can lose empathy. And once we lose empathy, we can do anything to them, or we can allow others to do anything to them. Institutions have been built to preserve the interests of one group of people over another, and they depend upon this lack of curiosity of ours, lack of wonder from us, lack of imagination. They depend on it to keep going. Some of you know that I was at a little community named called Shandon before I came to the church in Ocean Park, and I was there for 10 years. And that community basically consists of people who speak English and people who speak Spanish. And so there's a big divide between those two groups. And in order to sort of bridge some of the gap, I had a class in English and a class in Spanish. And during that class, I thought I would bring them together in some way. So I had them write questions in the other group's language. So the people who spoke English, who were learning Spanish, I had them write questions in Spanish that they would ask to that class. And I brought them together, and both groups were incredibly nervous. They were so nervous. And they finally got through it, and they asked their questions, and they got to know each other. There was a lot of laughter, and they had a great time. And after that class, they all attended a hike with the pastor, and then they all had a barbecue together. And once they saw that the other group was just as nervous as them, that they had commonality, that they established a connection and an empathy, and compassion followed. And later, when some farm workers died in the hot, hot sun in Shandon while picking fruit and not being unionized, some of the English speakers attended their funeral, which it would have never happened had the connection not been made. Valerie Kerr writes this toward the end of her book. Seeing no stranger begins in wonder. It is to look upon the face of anyone and choose to say, you are a part of me I do not yet know. Wonder is the wellspring for love. Who we wonder about determines whose stories we hear and whose joy or pain we share. Those we grieve with, those we sit with and weep with, or ultimately those we organize with and advocate for. When a critical mass of people come together to wonder about each other, grieve with one another, and fight with and for one another, we begin to build the solidarity needed for collective liberation and transformations, a solidarity rooted in love. She says, out in the world, I notice the unconscious biases that arise in me when I look at faces on the street or in the news. To practice seeing each of them as a family member, I say in my mind, you are a part of me I do not yet know. Through conscious repetition, I'm practicing orienting to the world with wonder and preparing myself for the possibility of connection. It opens me up to pay attention to their story. When I get overwhelmed, I ask, what is my role in this moment? I remember that I have only to shine my light in my corner of the sky. This week, as you notice the unconscious biases that arise in you, they rise in each one of us. Practice seeing that person as a close friend or family member, someone you care deeply about. They are amazingly complex. As we intentionally expand our wonder about people, we expand our circle of who we consider to be one of us. People are amazing. Let's go into this week with a renewed curiosity and just see what happens. And remember, you only have to shine your light in your corner of the sky. Building a beloved community begins right where you are.
That's lovely. Let's sing Somos el barco. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navigo en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. The stream sings it to the river, and the river sings it to the sea. The sing sings to the boat that carries you and me. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. Now the boat we are sailing in was built by many hands, and the sea we are sailing on touches many lands. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navigo en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. So with our hopes we set the sails and face the winds once more, and with our hearts we chart the waters never sailed before. Somos el barco, somos el mar. Yo navego en ti, tú navegas en mí. We are the boat, we are the sea. I sail in you, you sail in me. I sail in you, you sail in me. Yeah, one more time. I sail in you, and you sail in me.
Now it's time for community sharing when you can make a comment or ask a question. You can raise your hand, go down to the reactions and raise your hand like Zoom style, or you can go like this and we'll try to see you. So I see that there's 3 hands up. So Jean Gasca.
Oh, that was such a lovely message. I had a very a magical thing happen during COVID. That was a total shift in consciousness. I belong to a choir. Some of you have come to see this choir sing in the past before COVID. And I was always anxious in this choir. I was always anxious that I was going to be late. I was anxious that I hadn't practiced enough, that my voice wasn't good enough, especially in the parts where there was no accompaniment. I was just anxious about it all the time. And one of the reasons why I was so anxious was that there were all sorts of little cliques of people in this choir. They didn't actively try to keep anybody out, but they were so happy with each other that I felt left out. And I'm also a rule follower. You know, when the conductor says quiet, I'm quiet and I'm listening. And these little cliques are talking to each other because they're so close to each other. Anyway, during COVID, we didn't meet. And I wondered, should I go back there? You know, is that a good environment for me? It makes me so anxious. Anyway, we started meeting about 3 months ago in person. And the amazing thing was that all the anxiety went away. It was so magical to sit in a room of 30 people harmonizing and tuning their voices to each other. You end up times. And all of a sudden, everybody seemed nicer to me. So I had created this whole problem for myself, this anxiety about the people in the room, because it felt like I didn't belong, but all of a sudden I belonged to everyone and they all belonged to me. It was easier for me to walk up to a group and start talking to people. It was really quite magical. But the most important thing was not that people changed their behavior. It was the shift in consciousness in me. Kind of like Janet was talking about her awareness of her position in a family. I was more aware of my position in this group as being a positive thing instead of something that caused me anxiety. So I just wanted to share that with you.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. Daria?
Thank you for your message. It was really, really nice. Speaking of change in consciousness, this week I was pretty sick at home, and one day I was resting, taking a nap because my body obviously really needed it, and I had what you could classify as a mystical experience, and I woke up from it realizing that you know, life is so impermanent, and at the same time, wherever we go after this life, we will be greeted with a guiding light and a guiding energy of love, and that really changed my whole outlook on life. So that's my experience with change of consciousness.
Wow. Thank you, Daria. Thank you. All right. Craig, go ahead.
Yes, on the issue of Buffy St. Marie making a statement in reference to the harm that the papal bulls have created against her people, and specifically also against our people, and the Pope wanting to meet her. I'm wondering just how much, I'm trying to kick the tire in regards to that movement to see just how much investment there is from the Archdiocese to look at, you know, the pain that papal bulls have caused at least 2/3 of the world's populace. Is this just, you know, one of those photo op moments, or is there a serious movement to that effect, if that's known?
I think that what Buffy was talking about was she wanted him to disband the doctrine of discovery. I'm not sure if there's a movement behind that or not. I would, but I know that that's what her goal was. There is a lot for the Catholic Church to apologize and do, and there's a lot for Protestant Church to do as well. I mean, the Christian Church as a whole has a whole lot of things that need to be rectified. So, and I know that there's movements going on regarding a lot of them, but I'm not positive about what's happening in Canada regarding that right now. So I see 3 hands up. So Bob, Gord, go ahead.
Thank you, Janet. I'd like to lift up a couple of members of my family who I think are setting a good example right now along the lines that you have talked about today. Some of you have actually met my my older brother Rudy and his wife Lou, who live in North Carolina. Kim has met them, for instance, and Chuck, and maybe a few others. Louise has done some singing with. Anyway, Rudy and Lou are members of a Quaker church, and fairly recently someone new began coming and also participated in some workshops and things like that. And Rudy and Lou both liked her. And before long, they got a call from their pastor. This woman's name is Delissa, saying that Delissa something had happened in her life, and she found herself homeless, without a home, at least for now. And they wondered whether Delissa might be able to, the pastor wondered whether Rudy and Lou might be willing to have Delissa stay with them for a while. And of course, if you may have gotten a good impression of someone, but you don't really know them, it's a little anxiety producing to think about having them live in your house. But they decided that they would say yes to that. They're setting up some guidelines and, boundaries and things. But one nice thing about it is they are definitely not saying yes in a grudging way, like, okay, but rather they are welcoming her. They had a special dinner to welcome her, and they plan to get to know her and, have curiosity about her, you might say. And I don't know how relevant this is. It's sort of relevant to our discussion now. It is the fact that she is a Black woman. And it's relevant to what Janet's saying, I think, because Rudy and Lou do not consider Black people other. And they've been very active in anti-racist studies and activities. And it just makes me feel good that they have said yes to this opportunity to get to know somebody better, and perhaps a nice friendship could come out of it. Also, both Rudy and Lou are fans of Valerie Kaur that Janet is referencing. They've heard her speak, and I'm glad. I'm a fan too, and I'm glad that you're bringing her ideas in, Janet.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hurley Jim.
Thank you. And yeah, Bob, that was very inspiring. Thanks for sharing that. And thank you, Janet. I kind of grew up with Buffy St. Marie. She was a hero of mine, and I remember going to a concert of hers at Georgetown University in the late '60s. Sitting in the front row, and I will admit, looking up at her with adoration. I think, just and I was enthralled by her. Yeah, I've been listening to, well, I hadn't heard this latest thing that you were mentioning, so that's great. But I also have a friend who has passed on now, but who grew up around Mono Lake, Connecticut Paiute, and was taken to the Sherman Indian School in Riverside. So one of the boarding schools that was set up to take the culture, dismantle, separate the children from their culture and try to, weaken them by doing that. She would not be weakened. She insisted that she was going to be more than a domestic, which is what they were training her to be. And she insisted on them providing her with an education, a real education. And they finally caved and did that. And it sort of created a sort of a collapse of the system in a sense, because others started seeing that they could do that and followed her lead. She ended up being on the American Indian Commission for Los Angeles County, and doing a lot of very courageous and interesting things. And also along the lines of what you were talking about, I'll just mention this because I found this just before hopping on this morning. Yes Magazine has an article about how we need to shift from wealth accumulation, civilization, at least wealth in the narrow sense of economic wealth, to life-affirming civilizations. And apparently I didn't get that far in it, but has examples of communities that are creating life-affirming civilization. So might be worth a look.
Great, thank you. Chuck?
Hi. I have a story about Pete Seeger and Eleanor Graham. I knew Eleanor Graham, our song leader, since the mid to late 70s, way back when. And
so she was the song leader before Louise. I just wanted to let people know.
Yes, a lot of us know her. I know, of course, Hurley Jim, Bob Gorgale. Anyway, we had many talks, and she seemed to talk, for me anyway, it's kind of in riddles. There was a lot that I didn't understand at the moment as she talked. I didn't know she was lesbian until quite a few years after I'd met her. I don't know if she knew, but anyway, there was a real attraction there. But I just remember one thought that she expressed toward the end of her life when she said, we were talking about Pete Seeger, and she said, "Where would we be without him?" And it stuck with me. And of course, now we both know he's gone and Eleanor's gone, and I may be going, who knows, I'll be 85 in September. But it's amazing how things stay with us. Like it's not just memories with some people, it's more than that. It's just a spiritual awareness of that person as they were and are. And it seems like it's more than memory. It just seems the impression or the impact they had on us, at least on me, was so great that they don't really go very far. So thank you.
Right, thank you. You're reminding me of the Pete Seeger celebration we had after his passing at the church.
Yeah.
Rachel?
Yeah, thank you for that message. I think that it's a message that I've been harping on for quite a while. And what I want to relate today is I just finished watching a television series called The First Alaskans by National Geographic. And it's a series about partially about the indigenous folks that live in Alaska. And they the folks that they're interviewing and you know showing their lives keep talking about the land and their cultures and how through like you know 1,000 years of generations things were handed down from father and mother to sons and daughters. And when thinking, you know, today about what the Catholic Church has done and other Christian religions have done to other cultures, and I think that the schools in Canada bring a very bright spotlight onto the destruction of those cultures. And, you know, I appreciate the Pope wanting to make an apology on behalf of all Catholics for that. That to me is not enough. They have destroyed these cultures. So take the resources that they have. They should take the resources that they have. The Vatican has been gathering wealth for couple of thousand years, and take some of that and do something that's restorative. Start teaching, you know, make a conscious effort to start teaching at least the minimum of the languages that have been, because that was one of the things with the first Alaskans that we were talking about, the language, just the languages alone that have become extinct because of what they did. And so, you know, if they truly want to make an apology, do it in more than just words. They need to do it in deed.
Right.
And one of the ways to do that would be to hold classes and really teach not just, you know, the native, the indigenous folks, the descendants, but also everybody else who is interested and want to wonder about what those cultures were all about. And I think the best way to learn about a culture is through their language. Thank you.
Thank you. I think, you know, if there's any, and Buffy also said this, that if there's any pope that would do something, it would be this one. This is a different kind of pope than we've had before. And, you know, I think that hopefully this pope will be listening. You know, we're meeting with the indigenous people and decide and figuring out what it is that could be done. And I see Dr. Kim's hand, and I just want to also say that the Sierra Service Project, which is the way I came back to the Christian faith after leaving it for decades, a couple decades, was founded in the Owens Valley, which in the midst of the Paiute culture, and it was difficult for us to, to establish relationships with some of the Native American, where some of the Paiute folks there, because of all that they had been through, and it was, understandable. So we learned a lot through that, a lot of, patience, and here's a white person trying to like barge in and make promises. So we were very, very careful and very much listened to their stories as we came in. But go ahead, Dr. Kim.
So thank you. So I'm appreciating this conversation that we're having today. This probably, I was just doing a little bit of researching. this article from National Geographic uh, probably came out, just at the same time that the documentary came out, and just the ending of it, what it says, and we have to remember the fact that, as Reverend Janet said at the beginning, there were many, unfortunately, many Christian groups that were either having a hand in this or going along with the doctrine of discovery
Right.
themselves. And so it says, this is from National Geographic, says, in modern times, though resistance to the discovery document as a legal concept has grown, it said this is spearheaded by indigenous activists, but the movement to repudiate and eliminate the doctrine has prompted lawsuits and protests. And in 2013, even the United Nations conference that denounced the doctrine as a shameful root of the ongoing marginalization of indigenous peoples worldwide. And church groups have also joined in the mounting movement. So denominations like United Church of Christ, the Episcopal Church, Mennonite Church, United Methodist Church, and Anglican Church have all repudiated the doctrine. Now, what the Pope can do, because for a papal bull, you can speak against it, but eventually the Pope would actually have to revoke a papal bull. So that would be great if that was something that he would do, and only a Pope can take that symbolic step. So I think we're hoping that he will do that. And just so people, remember that these religious ideas, like the papal bull, but like other ideas coming from religious groups, became the foundational building blocks of white supremacy and manifest destiny. And we're still dealing with that today. And, being here in Pennsylvania, in Pennsylvania, near Harrisburg, there was one of the very large schools that, young people from the indigenous groups were taken to. So we have to remember that this was going on, and many of you already know this, in the United States.
Yeah.
That these schools were happening here. So we need to be thinking about what we can do here, and ask the native peoples, what would they like? Because, do they want us to be learning their language and their culture? Because unfortunately, that also leads sometimes to appropriation. So asking them what they would like, and if they say that is something that they would like, or how we would support the recovery of the cultures, what we could do to help them as they make their choices about how to bring their cultures back.
Right. Thank you, Dr. Kim. And I just want to reiterate that, there is that the Pope can revoke this, but we also each have some things that we can do, because even though it was basically the Christian churches, the Catholic Church, but also the Protestant churches and all kinds of other faithful people who enabled this to happen, so did all the standers-by. It's not as if there are people let it happen. So, it's not, you can't, you place the blame where the blame should go to, but you also can say, it was widely accepted, apparently, or there was no stopping it. I mean, so you got to look at that part too. So anyway, I want to thank you all for this discussion, and for remaining curious, so that these kinds of things don't happen as much in the future, because we all have our biases, and this is the kind of thing that can happen when we don't check our biases, and we don't stay curious about somebody who's different, and we accept that people who are not like us are not not in our circle. But when we expand our circle of who we are compassionate and empathetic about, then this is less likely to happen. So that is the part of the point that Valerie Kerr was trying to get across, is to continually expand our notion, our understanding in our brain and in our spirit and in our bodies about who is one of us. is more, you have to be more intentional than just saying, I love everyone. It's more than that. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Reverend Janet. So how about everyone take a good stretch and a breath as we continue to breathe in the wonderful diversity of who we are, and also breathe in all of the different ways that that we have to restore our climate and restore our air and all of the things that we are called to do. And as we continue to remember Pete Seeger and singing with him, as you know, several of us have gotten to do. Here is a video of one of my favorite Pete Seeger songs. You'll see some people that you know in it. Reggie Harris is in this, and also our friends Terry Leonino and Greg Artzner, Magpie. And this is a video that the four of us did for this when we recorded the Guide My Feet CD. We recorded Pete's song, Rainbow Race, and I just love this song.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die.
Some folks wanna be like an ostrich, bury their heads in the sand.
Some hope that plastic dreams can unclench all those greedy hands.
Some hope to take the easy way, poisons, bombs, they think we need 'em.
Don't you know you can't kill all the unbelievers? There's no shortcut to freedom.
One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. Go tell all the little children,
Tell all the mothers and fathers too.
Now's our last chance to learn and share
What's been given to me and you.
one blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try to show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die. One blue sky above us, one ocean lapping all our shore, one earth so green and round, who could ask for more? And because I love you, I'll give it one more try show my rainbow race. It's too soon to die.